She doesn't even go here!
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Homo, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hello! Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Not So Straight Nerds. I'm your host, Luke.
And I'm your host, Alicia.
And today, we are going to be talking about the
drama.
Gasp.
This
is...
things we know a lot about because we were both theater kids.
Indeed. So this is, I think, a bit of a controversial movie. But certainly it's doing very well for A24.
It's at like 80 something. I looked earlier today. It's at like $82 million box office wise, and the budget was $28 million. So like, pop off. It is. I feel like for a hit like that, a bit on the quieter side, but certainly in terms of like word of mouth, you should go see this. But I have heard, at least in the film world, a lot of crazy things about it. So I was definitely excited about it. Before I knew anything, seen a trailer, anything, just knowing the actors that were going to be in it, A24, like, I'm sold.
Mm-hmm.
And the more and more I heard about it, the more I was anticipating it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, good interesting conversation around it.
Indeed.
That's the way to phrase it.
There's a lot to talk on this. Obviously, this is a movie, if you don't know, that hinges on a major spoiler. So,
Plot twist, all the things.
So, this is going to be a spoiler discussion.
Yes.
There's a trigger warning in that we are about to give, that will basically kind of spoil what that is.
Yeah.
So if you are at all interested in seeing this movie,
oh, know that it's not a rom-com.
it is not a rom-com.
It gets very serious. Please know that going in. It's hard to really say more without spoiling it, but let's just say there's a plot twist that makes it very A24-esque and very serious. So please know that going in, and maybe look that up if you're anxious about that.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily know exactly the plot twist to look up the trigger warning, but that will give away something. So just kind of know that.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. We'll be more specific in a second. We just want to give a spoiler warning in case you wanted to see it. Don't go expecting a rom-com. Go see You, Me, and Tuscany.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, alrighty. So with that spoiler warning out of the way, we are going to throw up the trigger warning here. This is a movie about gun violence and school shooting, or at least involving those themes.
Mm-hmm.
If that is a sensitive topic for you, you might want to find another video, or frankly, another movie.
Yeah.
That is basically the core of this conversation. If that's not your thing, plenty of other movies out right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, with that, since we both knew what we were getting into, or had an idea at least, what were your expectations?
Okay, so first off, Zendaya and Robert Pattinson in a film together. It feels crazy that hasn't happened already.
And it's happening 3 times this year, including this one.
So I think that was a very exciting thing to hear. I remember seeing the first trailer for it, I think when we went to go see like Marty Supreme on that day. I think that was the first time I saw a trailer for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it didn't have the scene of like the what's the worst thing you've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't understand what I'm watching. It reminded me a lot of the first companion trailer, which is like, I don't get what this movie's trying to do. So these scenes really just mean nothing to me.
Yeah. But I think, at least for a first trailer, that could be okay because you have your stars that are going to get people to go. Now, I will say maybe it's, given the topic of discussion, maybe it's slightly irresponsible.
I would say so.
I will say, obviously, they did have a second trailer.
And I think that second trailer, which does, I think, warrant people to be like, maybe I should figure out what is happening before I go see it.
Yeah.
And I think that second trailer that does hint at what this movie's about is an amazing trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't give away what the twist is. I think they play that scene perfectly.
I think, honestly, they really could have even put a trigger warning for gun violence at the start, and I don't think that would have given away everything.
I agree.
I think that could have been enough to warn people, which I do think needs to happen more often. I complain quite often that movies don't do enough trigger warnings for stuff. So easy to do, guys. It's like one screen. It's not that hard. Just anyways. But definitely here, I think that could have been useful. So you could have, if you even want to get super nitpicky, you can be like, there's a trigger warning for this, but it could slightly spoil some things. Here's a warning, 3, 2, 1, whatever. If you want to be like that. But anyways, that did not happen. So, but I personally did read what the twist was. I'm bad at like being nosy about that
I did
stuff.
not read that.
I did.
But I saw that there was a headline that a parent from, I think, the Columbine shooting denounced the movie. And in that case, it's like, okay.
Oh.
So.
What the hell happens in this film?
Well, I think it's unfortunately pretty like, so we know basically what that's going to be about. Obviously, you don't know the extent, and I think it's a very niche situation in the film, so it's impossible to guess the extent. But I went into it knowing that it's hard. I mean, obviously, what someone who's experienced this has to say is more important than the movie that's, like, trying to explore this. But I would have, I don't know, I would have been so interested to see what I thought of the movie if I truly didn't know.
Did Cole know anything at all?
I don't know, actually.
We should ask him, actually. What was your experience?
Gosh. So.
I don't know. I feel like we potentially then had 3 different experiences. Potentially Cole knowing nothing, you knowing the vibe, I guess, and then I knew like the specifics because it was leaked, so I knew. I mean, I didn't know, it wasn't confirmed until I saw it in the movie, but if the leaks were to be believed, then I knew everything, and they were.
Did know
so
everything.
yeah. So yeah, that's interesting.
Alrighty, so maybe jumping right into it, and maybe for those who just want us to spill it, the twist or the reveal is that Zendaya's character Emma had plotted a school shooting when she was in, what, that was middle school?
Middle school.
And she had gone through the planning. She had her dad's rifle.
She was like at the school.
And she brought it to school, is what she said. But then another shooting happened in her town that made her not do it. And then having a place of belonging brought her into campaigning for gun control. And she had never done that again. And also, I think it's also telling that she had been lying about where her deaf ear came from.
Yeah, how she lost her hearing in that ear.
So, a big reveal,
yes.
Needless to say.
It was her and her fiance, and then their maid of honor and best man were at like a wine tasting, I think. I don't know, they were drinking wine. And they decided to talk about the worst thing they'd ever done. And I would say probably 2 of the things were bad, but not like irredeemable. One of the things arguable or whatever, which is important for a later conversation. And then Emma's was the last one. And I think what was also kind of bad is the fact that I don't think she expected how big the reactions would be to that, and I'm a little bit like, I feel like you should have. That's pretty bad. So even if you didn't go through with it, you almost did, and arguably the only reason you didn't is because someone stole the spotlight from you. Maybe it's because another shooting happened and that put it into perspective how crazy it was going to be if she actually did that. Maybe that's giving her a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. But it also could have been because they stole her spotlight.
It's such an interesting thing, that whole reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to stick this under best parts because they never give a real reason for why she didn't go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's also important follow-up to, like, there's something to be said for, like, she could have gone again. And she didn't.
I think it's a very...
But,
very nuanced situation.
it's incredibly nuanced
Like,
to a crazy extent. And I love a nuanced conversation,
Yeah.
but even this pushes the edge.
It's one of those, like, obviously I would never blame somebody for finding that irredeemable and not wanting to marry them, or, like, if they were a friend, like, cutting them off. Would never blame anybody for that. But I think they do a good job at showing that she's also not the same person anymore. And creating that openness for empathy. Like, I don't think the movie takes a decision of it's irredeemable or it's not. I think they allow for an open discussion on that on both sides very well, which makes the movie better. I mean, it would not have been as good if they said, well, it's irredeemable and here's why, or it's not as bad as you think and here's why. So I think it makes for a more interesting movie. It allows for good real life debate as well, because I do think it's an important topic.
I do. I think there's also something to be said that I think they never really super touch on the why she didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
They go through the why she was planning it. She
Mm-hmm.
was being bullied. She was in a new place, and she didn't have people. Her parents weren't around. Her dad had a gun laying around the house. And she was just messing around with that in the house, outside the house, and they never even suspected that something like that was happening.
And they also touch on, which I appreciated, that the internet was a big thing at the time. And, you know, I've talked about this the other day with some of my coworkers, but it's like our generation was in a unique position where the internet was so, I feel like, new and accessible. It was so newly accessible, I will say it like that. That I think a lot of parents didn't know, should I regulate this? How much should I regulate this? How do I regulate this? I mean, they were learning how to even use it. So it allowed for a lot of children to see things that they probably shouldn't at that age. You know, I think of the show 13 Reasons Why. That was huge when I was in middle school, I believe, or early high school. And that was not a show I should have been watching at the time, and I regret watching that show at the time, but that was so popular, everybody was watching it. And that's such a damaging show for kids at that age. For anyone, really. It's such a dark show. But then I think of, in the movie, they explore, there's more and more school shootings. It's happening more often. It's being in the news more. Kids are seeing that, and not only are they seeing how horrible that is, but for some kids like Emma, who are in a really dark place, they could potentially see that as, now that's something I could do. And when you're in a vulnerable place like that and you don't have a support system at school with your friends or teachers, or at home where you have someone sitting you down and talking about, this is happening, why it's bad, like all this stuff, making sure you're okay, you could be vulnerable to falling into a deep, dark pit like that.
It reminds me a lot. I know there was a movie that talked about it, or a show that talked a lot about, like, the current manosphere, and, like, how right now young boys are in such a bad place because same access to the internet, and they're falling into this community that's telling them that they're better than everyone else. And the idea that they don't really have a system in place to prevent them from falling into that. Something that I think is really interesting about Emma as a character is she comes out of that and, completely switches gears on that. But I think it's important to highlight that it came about because she was given a net. Like ultimately it wasn't like inconvenience that she didn't go through with it. End of the day, you can reschedule, but she found from that other tragedy, community and belonging and everything she didn't have before that was making her rely on these other horrible places.
Yeah. And I think, obviously that doesn't make what she thought about and almost did okay at all. But I do think there's a conversation there about how we need to support kids more and talk to them more, especially parents need to be having that responsibility more than anybody else. I mean, school and friends and anyone else in your community can only do so much. You as the parents, I think, are the most responsible for that. You need to be having more conversations with your kids. Don't assume that if you're a strict parent or you go to what you think is a good school, they have a good system, don't assume that they're okay and that they're in a good place. Like, if something's happening, you need to talk to them about that. Because otherwise, you're leaving them vulnerable for the wrong person to convince them of the wrong thing.
Yes. And especially at that age, they're super, not adaptable, but
vulnerable, or they're just
there's
they're
a
not
word
developed. They
can believe things a lot easier if someone's giving them
the
time and
naive?
attention. It's not even
Impressionable.
Impressionable.
Yeah.
It's a time where you're developing, and if the wrong people are getting in there because no one else is in there,
like my parents, they did end up having a conversation with me about 13 Reasons Why. They didn't ignore it. They didn't pretend it wasn't exist. Now, they had that conversation too late, unfortunately. I did already see it at that point. But I appreciate that they even tried and got to it at some point. It's not there. They probably didn't hear about it in time, which is not anybody's fault. It's just unfortunate. And then I also, in middle school, I had a neighbor that I was friends with, but she was in a bad crowd, and my parents were harsh about it. Not about her, but just you need to be careful and have boundaries. It's okay to be friends with her, but don't let yourself get into danger and into that crowd. And they were very strict on that, and at the time that probably upset me because it probably seemed controlling, but in hindsight I'm so thankful for that. So because I could have fallen in a bad place. So it's that needs to be happening a lot more, because the thing with the guys. And then also I know girls lately, there's been a conversation that young girls are looking so much older than they are because of all the beauty standards. They have such heavy makeup at when they're 12, to the point where they look like they're in high school, and that's not healthy for anybody. Obviously that makes them more vulnerable to predators as well. There's so much conversation around that, and the solution to all of those things is parents need to talk to their kids more. And I like that they at least touched on that in this film as well, with how absent the father was, because he seemed to love her. It's not like he resented her or hated her.
He just
wasn't present.
It's falling into the assumption that your kids are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Which I think is never a good thing.
That's why I always like when it's I like when parents allow their kids to have choice in a controlled environment. Don't just assume everything's okay, but don't control every part of their life. Just let them know that they have you and that you are a point of help if they ever need it. Because if you're so strict to the point where you're I would disown you if you do something like this, then they're just going to hide it from you. They're not going to not do it. It's like the conversation where parents don't want free condoms and stuff like that because they don't want their kids having sex. I'm well, sorry, but it's going to happen. So allow them to have safety be accessible to them, and have those conversations about being safe, rather than just condemning them, because that's not going to prevent it from happening most of the time. So, I don't know. That was a big tangent, but I do
little
feel
bit.
like it's very relevant for this movie.
It is, for sure. I feel like, also, though, this little tangent we had is maybe more detailed than the movie itself cares to go into.
I would say so.
I think...
Like, I feel like they could have touched on the dad and the lack of his absence, or presence, more. Same with the American school system and the rising of school shootings. I think they could have touched on that more. They did mention it, but maybe you talked about Act 3 wasn't your favorite. Maybe they could have taken time away from that and added more discussion there.
Something I've heard thrown around in discussion of this film, and I'm jumping through the outline a little bit, but there's an idea of, like, what is this film about? It is, like, massacres like this even actually at the center. I think there's a lot of compelling arguments that this is actually more of a character piece on this couple than anything else. And this is basically just kind of like a side conversation in that.
It very much seems like the main discussion is, can he get over this thing, this piece of information that he's learned? Can he still marry her? Can he forgive her or, like, move past this? Rather than what I think maybe should have been a more balanced conversation is that, and how is this allowed to happen in the first place, and what are the effects of that? And can you come back? Can you come back from that as a person, not even just talk about the relationship with her?
I feel like the conversation we just had, I feel like is a completely different movie than what we have, and I think that's a very important movie. This one, I think, just is taking a very big idea and using it as a plot point. And it's still spurring, I think, very important conversations. I can see how that can also be viewed as taking a really drastic and important situation and, like, using it almost like a prop. I don't think that's necessarily the case here, because this movie goes through great lengths to be like, that's a horrible thing to do. And then even in a movie that's trying to add nuance to this conversation, it doesn't ever back down from that. But then it also doesn't really go to explore those points that we brought up. I mean, it's all there. Like, everything that we're talking about is not even anything being assumed. It's what we physically see. So there's a really interesting element of, like, balancing between these two different things with this huge topic that you chose to introduce, and then arguably not make that what your movie's about. It's an interesting choice as a creative.
But I do find it interesting that I feel like the most pushback she gets is from
yes.
Alana Haynes'
Speaking
character.
of nuance, please bring that part up.
But it's her maid of honor,
Rachel.
Yes. So she, I think, takes it the worst. All of them find it super messed up, of course. Anyone would. But she takes it the worst because she has a cousin that was a victim of school shooting and is paralyzed from that, I believe. So she, like, storms out and doesn't want to be their maid of honor. And is definitely the most hostile the whole film. Obviously, she has every right to feel that way, and it makes sense that she takes it the most personally. I do want to say, though, it's an interesting choice to have that come from the person who I think has the second worst thing they've done in their life out of the four of them, where she was, I believe, babysitting a kid who they suggest
Not babysitting. He randomly came around and bugged her, meaning that the police had no reason to believe that he was with her.
So and they suggest that he was on the spectrum, I believe. Because I think
The way she talks about him
Yeah.
was...
I don't want to repeat what she says
Yeah.
because it's not nice. But then that leads them to suggest that. And that's, I think, extra important because she ends up tricking him into going into this bathroom or closet or something.
Into a closet.
And locking him in there and leaving him. He like is freaking out. Obviously, he's a child and he just got locked in this dark, creepy room, probably dirty room too. I think it was like an abandoned RV or something. Or,
In the middle of the woods, so
yeah.
not anywhere that anyone would be able to hear him.
No, super scary. And instead of just letting him out, she didn't want to get in trouble, and so she just leaves him. And then instead of telling anyone, she just doubles down and just never tells anyone that he's there. And she's not even the one to have that initial, he was fine. Somebody has to ask her what happened to the kid. Like she even now, she doesn't really show remorse for it. She didn't even mention it worked out. He's fine. Like I obviously regret doing that, but it's not like he died. Like somebody had to ask her that. And I think that adds to it. That's horrible. And she actually did that, which is another thing. It's not like she just thought about it or there was a reason that got in the way. Like he was a child that children are annoying, okay? That's like they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be like whimsical and like, you know, like I don't want to say that as like children are annoying or whatever, but like they're supposed to be. Let them be annoying. And
they test boundaries.
Yes,
they
like
try and
that's
figure
in
out
their nature.
how to interact with people.
Yes, and then if you are on the spectrum, then that usually means that it's harder for you to read body language in social situations. So it's harder for you to even realize that you could be annoying somebody. And so it's like the entire situation is just horrible. And we don't really touch on that a whole lot at all.
I've heard some conversation about Alana Haim's character Rachel.
Mm-hmm. First of all, love her.
I
love the
love
actress.
Alana Haim,
Yes,
not Rachel.
Yeah.
I
Not
will
Rachel.
say I've loved her work before.
Yeah, Licorice Pizza's great. Obviously, it was fun to see her on the Eras tour with Taylor Swift. Like, she's been a fun character that's bounced around, and she was in One Battle After Another. Very briefly, but still fun to see her places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say someone pointed out that her character is a very real character because the script I think is really good at making every single interaction these characters have very at least highlight the core of their character so much. I know it's Emma and Charlie hyperfixates on problems, and he babbles and he makes things a mess. Emma is a very forgiving character. She always wants to start over, which I think is such a core to her character, clearly, and you can see where that came from, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
And then Rachel is someone who always needs to feel superior to the people around her. Even in the first scene, someone pointed out whenever Emma's trying on her prom or her wedding dress, Rachel's there making snide comments of like, you can't cry when you're in your dress, it'll make you look ugly, and stuff like that the entire movie. And then obviously that gets super accentuated and blown up whenever the question is answered. And it is just so...
It's frustrating too because she's so obviously mad, and she's allowed to be mad, of course. But then she's still showing up to the wedding. She's still giving a speech. She's still acting like she's gonna give some uncomfortable speech thing and reveal her secret, but then she doesn't. It's like...
She's like seeking attention and validation that she is superior. It's like, if you have a problem with that and you don't want to be friends anymore,
then
say that and just leave.
I also found it interesting when Emma, I think, very much rightfully assumes that Rachel's not going to have anything to do with her company anymore because it's going to have something to do with her. She's like, maybe look for somebody else. One, I took that as because she doesn't want them talking to her, just in general. But also, two, I think she rightfully assumes she's going to want nothing to do with her anymore.
And anyways, you're not replying to the company that's trying to work with you.
Yeah.
So that's a reason enough for anyone else to cancel that contract with you or whatever.
Yeah, and she gets so mad about it later as if she's like taking away her job and job opportunities. And I'm like, you weren't jumping on that in the first place. And then I think she rightfully assumes that you probably don't want to do it anymore because you don't want anything to do with Emma. So I'm like, okay. I just do think it's another scenario where it's like the worst person you know is right about something. It's not the worst person you know, but it's like she's an aggravating character, even if she is still allowed to be mad about a situation, you know?
Sure.
But the way she's handling it is annoying, and it might even be like...
You can't argue with someone's feelings,
times.
but you can argue with their actions.
Yeah, like she's allowed to be upset, but then she's complaining and still showing up, and I'm like, girl, just don't show up then. If it's that big of a deal, fine, then don't show up. Your actions need to reflect that, I think. So, I don't know.
There's also an element that people have pointed out with Emma, as played by Zendaya, is of color. So people compare that to kind of a passive aggressiveness between the two characters, which I think is inherently there given that case.
Yeah. And yeah, that is interesting. I was gonna point out that I think casting Zendaya was a really good choice because again, it brings me... I hate talking about this movie, but I feel like it comes up actually fairly often. But I think of the Better Man movie where Robbie Williams talks about how he wanted a CGI monkey to play his character because he thinks people would sympathize with an animal more than they would a human being. I think Zendaya's casting was very intentional and very smart because people love Zendaya. And so I feel like just going into that would make the audience more open to the nuanced discussion rather than just, no, she did something horrible to end a discussion. I think that's smart to cast someone so likable and so conventionally attractive. That helps people sympathize with that. Yeah, just the way she played her character. I also think of Rue from Euphoria. A lot of people, I think because of her work with Rue's character, they may be like, Rue, what are you doing? But they're always rooting for her.
Rooting for her?
Sorry. So props to Zendaya for that. Props to the casting team for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
No, indeed. I also, as long as I think we're still technically in the best parts, I also want to shout out the, talk about the script, the directing and editing, I also think is really good.
Yeah.
It's like, borderline, like, directed as, like, a comedy at times, like a very dark comedy. Specifically, I'm going to shout out that scene with the wedding photographer, where she's just like, can we not talk about this and just go deal with this? And then Zoe Winters plays that character. She was also in The Materialists and also was a scene stealer there.
First, I'm going to shoot you, and then
I'm going to shoot you, and then I'm going to shoot your parents. Then we're going to shoot your entire family. And then we're going to switch over to the groom's family and shoot them.
It went on for a long time, but it never went on too long. Like, it just kept... oh, my God. Even worse.
Oh my gosh. And then that entire scene of them like trying to take the pictures and her just being like, I'm sensing some tension. Is that right? Is that what I'm feeling? I loved she played that role so well.
To like her either as a child or as an adult holding the gun.
Yes.
I'm like, that's such a good choice. No, like actually, I think that I would love to see the editing get an Oscar.
The editing is really strong here.
I agree.
I'd be surprised if at the end of the year I don't think it's like up there as one of the best.
I agree. Now I don't know. It is on the smaller side. We've seen how they treated challengers, aka not giving them anything, and that should have gotten editing too, and score. So, anyways, so we'll see. But I think on our personal list, that will probably be on our list.
Definitely.
So.
I think we talked a lot of the things we like about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else I like about this movie? I like that it starts and it feels like a rom-com. And then as soon as the switch happens, and it's like gone.
Yeah, 180 for sure. You did mention that if someone thought this was a rom-com, you could see how they would start the movie thinking that.
Yes.
They would sit down and be like, yeah, this is the movie I thought it was. And then, oh no, no it is not. Yeah. I had a coworker who came in and was like, you seen the drama? And I'm like, no, but I want to see it because I hadn't seen it at the time. She's like, well, just so you know, it's not a rom-com. And I said, oh no, you thought it was a rom-com?
It's like, by the way, just so you know, it's not a Western like I thought it was.
Woo!
Or something crazy.
I felt so bad for her. I was like, girl, I could have told you that. You know, I talk about movies all the time. Why didn't you ask me? I told her that. I was like, ask me next time you're unsure about a movie, and I will tell you. I know everything about upcoming movies.
Essentially,
I promise you. Or I can find out for you if needed. So, and then I told her about Yumi at Tuscany. I was like, girl, go see that. I was like, okay. Anyways.
Switching to worst parts of the film. You did already shout out my thoughts earlier, but I do think the first, 2 acts of this movie are so good.
Yeah.
Then it switches to the actual wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like... No, actually, even a little before the wedding. The moment Charlie cheats on Emma with his coworker is the moment I'm like, huh?
I don't even think it went too far when he was telling her the hypothetical scenario. It was awkward, of course, and hard to watch.
I thought that was still perfectly ingrained with what this film was going for.
I agree. And then they kiss, and you're like, okay. And we are not the odd ones out on that. That is not a hot take from us. I have seen that many other places and many other people's thoughts. So.
It's like the moment that happens, it feels like the movie completely changes what it's trying to do. And then it becomes like, oh, so now who's worse? And it's like, that feels like not a healthy thing to explore.
Yeah.
It's not like who's worse in the relationship.
Mm-mm.
It should be focused around this thing happened, or at least, I mean, and this is all my opinion, obviously, but this thing happened, this very important and sensitive subject happened with someone that I've already, professed that I want to spend the rest of my life with them. This thing happened. They could have done a very horrible thing. The only reason that didn't happen was inconvenience, is at least how they're explaining it. As we said earlier, there's a bit more nuance to why that didn't still happen. And
does this change everything I know about this person?
Yes. And then it goes from something super nuanced and something I think very interesting to explore to who's worse. Someone who did this horrible thing not to me, or me who did this horrible thing to the person I'm trying to get married to this week. And it's like...
It's like
one of these...
she almost did this horrible thing in middle school when she didn't have a support group, was young and impressionable. She didn't go through with this and has seemingly made up for it since, or, reformed or tried to at least. You did this as an adult, fully conscious of your actions, maybe not in the best headspace since you are struggling. To be fair, you are struggling with this reveal. But you're an adult and you know what you're doing, and you actually did follow through and did this and are actively keeping this from you, not just like a thing from your past you don't talk about, and are lying to her and well, scheming's probably dramatic, but like doing things to avoid confrontation there. Calculated, I think, is a better word. It's like, obviously, a school shooting would be worse than cheating on somebody, but
this whole movie is about your relationship.
Yes.
And borderline, how you should feel about your partner, them cheating on you should, like, in regards to should you keep marrying this person, like, that's kind of, like, on the week of your wedding, that's, like, borderline bigger than almost anything that happened.
Well, and he doesn't tell her until after they get married, and he doesn't tell her, it just gets revealed. So it's like, you had time to contemplate this and think about this. You did not give her that same opportunity, and the only reason she even ever found out about it is not because of your choice. It's because somebody else and miscommunication, and it just came out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just shifts the conversation in a direction that I don't think anybody was interested in, and I don't think it's helpful.
Well, it's at that point where it's like clearly the through line of exploring these two characters is what was in the interest of the director, and then it becomes a matter of taste of was that a stronger choice? And I think across the board, no. That last scene where they're in the diner, I think is really strong. I also do really like when he's messing up his groom speech.
Yeah.
I fear that's like a shining light in a part where I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
And then when he brings up, and we have really good sex, and you hear Rachel across the room go, ew.
Oh, God.
Oh, Rachel.
It's just disastrous. But I agree. It's a disaster in a way that still fit the film. At least the first 2/3 of it. So I agree with that.
And then at the very end, having that start over again, just like she's been trying to do this whole movie, and then just like their first meet cute. It is very in character that Charlie's going to be the one who hyperfixates and then ruins things, and then she's going to be the one who comes in and is just like, let's start over. It's, I don't know. This is a movie that explores the idea of like truly unconditional love, understanding someone, and kind of the weight of being with someone forever. It's interesting, and it explores those ideas mostly really well. But gosh, if it does not lose me a lot in that third act.
Yeah, it's a dip for sure in the movie. I mean, I still rated it, I believe, 4 stars out of 5. I still think it's really good.
I still stand by that, and I think the third act, it's in another movie. I would say it's not. It's like even good, but it's just it's not good within this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could have been a 5-star movie if the third act was better. But definitely the weaker part, I believe.
Yeah. I think that about wraps up any critiques I have of the film. Any other last thoughts about the movie itself?
Not really.
I think we talked through this
pretty thoroughly. It, yeah.
So next up, you wanted to have us rank our top 5 Zendaya and our top 5 Robert Pattinson performances.
Films. I typically do like a
Films.
combination
Now that's
of
fair.
Yeah.
I do not have Euphoria on here.
No, I only did films as well.
Okay. So we're starting with Zendaya?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And I actually went through and ranked through all...
Me too. They're on Letterboxd all,
How many have you seen?
Oh,
I have 10.
to pull that out. I think I've only seen like 8, maybe. I'll have to see. No, I've seen... Gosh, let me just pull it up. I've seen 11. I've seen Challengers, Dune, Part 1 and 2, Greatest Showman, the 3 Spider-Man films, the drama, Malcolm and Marie,
That's one I haven't seen.
Frenemies, and Zapped.
Oh, I haven't seen Frenemies. You didn't watch Space Jam: A New Legacy?
Nope. And I honestly, at this point, probably need to rewatch the first Space Jam. It's been that long. So, yeah. She's also in a movie called Smallfoot, which is an animated film. So
Zendaya is Michi.
what?
Do you remember? No.
No.
Oh my god, it was a TikTok of some guy, and there was like character posters of all of the characters from that movie. And Zendaya is Michi was one of them, and then he kept going through like all of the other posters of like the other actors and who they were playing, but then he kept circling back to Zendaya is Michi.
I haven't seen that one,
I'll find
but
that for you.
okay then. Okay.
If I heard about it, you need to have heard about it.
Okay. Cool.
So, anyways, starting at your number 5.
I put Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now hear me out. Oh, I love this film.
Mhm.
I am such a Homecoming stan. I love this movie. I am such a Tom Holland. Like, I love all the 3 Spider-Man versions or whatever. I guess technically 4 with Miles. But with Peter Parker, like, I love all of them. And for different reasons, different ways. I have in all 3 of their, well, not trilogy because Andrew Garfield, you know what I mean, sets of movies. There's good ones, there's bad ones. Homecoming is like one of my favorites. I love it. I love Tom Holland. That is a Spider-Man I started watching. So I think like most people, whoever you started watching is usually tends to be your favorite. So I'll stand by Homecoming, and I actually put this above the first Dune movie.
Well,
So I don't know if that's crazy, but
you know what? I think it's important to note here now. I rated these movies based off of my favorite Zendaya performance.
Okay, well, I always do it based off of
Yeah,
like
no, that's
kind
fine.
of a combination. Like, so obviously she doesn't have a huge part in some of the Spider-Man films, and even obviously the first Dune movie, she's like basically not even in.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to do more so the movie overall that she's just a part of. So yeah, I guess differences there.
Sure.
Performances, okay.
Um,
So Dune's gonna be your number 1. Anyways.
For number 5, I have Spider-Man: No Way Home. I think this is her strongest performance as MJ in the Spider-Man
Yeah, she has
realm.
the most to do here, I believe, as well.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. Who knows what happens after Brand New Day?
She's gonna be in it, which is good. I think for a while people were like, her and Ned aren't even gonna be in it, and
That
I'm
was
like,
rumored
that's
for a long
crazy.
time.
So I'm so glad that's not true, and that's very clearly not true. They are making that known. They will be at least a small part of it. So, okay, my number 4 is the drama, so that's where that ranks among my Zendaya films. Period.
At number 4, I also have the drama. And you know what? Actually, this might be a little bit later, but there are critiques that people say that Emma is a really poorly written character. Interesting. I adamantly disagree to that point.
Yeah.
I think she's not explaining herself well. I think that there's a part of her that doesn't want to explain what she's done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's all there, and I think Zendaya's acting as her is like phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. My number 3 is Spider-Man: No Way Home. I agree with everything you said. She's great. I love her as MJ, and so excited to see her in Brand New Day.
Purr. You talk faster than I write.
So sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
At number 3, I have The Greatest Showman.
That one's my number 7.
Oh my gosh. I adore this movie.
Me too.
Yes, I understand that's not how P.T. Barnum actually was, but let me have some frickin' carnival-based whimsy in my life.
I'm so sorry, but I did not know that before I went into the film, so I can't undo my love for that film. I simply cannot.
I mean, and regardless, Hollywood lies about a lot of things. Like,
Very true.
and who even remembers that character's name from this film? If we're being so honest. I know P.T. Barnum, but yeah, this one, a blast. Amazing musical numbers, amazing songs,
So
great
good.
performances.
I feel like people act like put this in the same vein as Frozen, where it's overplayed for them, and I just simply disagree. It can't ever be overplayed for me. My next one is Dune Part 2. What a great movie. And she's awesome in it. She's really good in it. And people were talking about, I think for a while, that they wanted her to get a supporting actress nom. She did not, but
There were no acting noms from that movie, and I think
that's
is
crazy.
a little crazy.
I actually don't know if she's ever been. I don't think she's ever been nominated for an Oscar, which is a little crazy because of Challengers 2. I would have totally stood by.
Absolutely.
So honestly, at that rate, the drama's probably not gonna get her anything. It'd be nice if it did, but I don't know. We'll see. At least she's appreciated at the Emmys.
Absolutely.
We'll get to the Oscars one day.
At number 2, I have Challengers. I adore this movie so much. I wish it was recognized by awards bodies appropriately.
At all?
Yeah.
At all?
But her role, I think she is so sneaky in this film, but like
Such an
iconic.
interesting. Yeah.
She had
It's like again, it's like she's not a likable character, but it's Zendaya.
No,
And
there's like almost
she
like
has,
a
like,
dual edge to her where she like
Yes.
you want to like her and she
Yes.
gives a like likable front.
Mm-hmm.
But then she does just some shady stuff when no one's looking, and it's like, girl, you're messy.
But we love to see studios allowing women to be in these roles, these messy roles. Speaking of, that's my number one is Challengers. I luckily got to see this in theaters. It came out when I lived somewhere with a big theater that showed everything. So, oh my God, because it was so good.
We were able to see it in the
Somewhere.
second furthest one. from
Okay.
this. Right.
Right.
In my number one, I have Dune Part 2. I think
Slay.
Paris Cheney is incredible. I think she does a really great job balancing her interest in this new guy who has a lot of ability and charm, and representing her people with strength. I love her in that film.
I'm excited to see her in Part 3, although I'll be totally honest, I have no idea how big of a part she plays. I know she does play a part and an
She's
important
covered
part.
in sand now.
I know something else about her that I don't want to reveal to people
Gas.
if they don't know. So she will have a role. I just don't know if it's as big as Part 2.
Hopefully it's bigger than
happens
Dune
there?
Part 1.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be bigger than Dune Part 1, but yeah.
Okay.
Just see.
So
Okay.
next we have Robert Pattinson's
Robert,
top
your
5.
turn.
How many did you... I had 12 listed.
I had 16.
Woo!
Because I've seen The King, which I know you haven't
I've not
seen.
seen.
I've seen... Have you seen Remember Me? Yeah, you have.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have. Because crazy ending.
Speaking of plot twist. And then, what's the other one? You've seen Tenet, though, and I haven't seen that.
Oh, I love Tenet.
Oh, I've seen Good Time. I've only
I've not seen Good Time.
Yeah. But that's only 2 more than you. So you must be missing some. You're probably missing the Harry Potter
I
films.
also haven't seen Lighthouse. There's only
I
in
haven't
one
either.
Harry Potter film.
No, he's in 2. He appears in Order of the Phoenix as a ghost and says...
Oh, shut up.
He does! That is not my top 5. Nor would it be, even if he had a big part, because I am a hater of Order of the Phoenix, book and movie.
Really?
Oh, the book was rough to get through, and no, the Pink Lady is, like, too insufferable for me. I can't. I don't like... There's, 1 or 2 scenes in Order of the Phoenix, because it's, a long scene. That's really, really good. Everything else sucks. I hate it. I don't... Ugh. Anyways. But then, obviously, yes, he's in Goblet of Fire. He's in 2 Harry Potter films. And then the Twilight films, Mickey 17, The Devil All the Time, and The Boy and the Heron, and Die My Love.
Ooh, I didn't have Boy and the Heron.
Would that change your list? Think about it.
You know what? If I'm being honest, it wouldn't.
Me
I
too.
think
That's
it's-
not on my list.
Also speaking of The Boy and the Heron, I think it's a lovely film. It's not one of my favorite Studio Ghiblis.
No, I was a little bit surprised at how much people were rooting for that for Best Animated Feature. I mean, I'm happy for the Studio Ghibli win,
Sure.
of course. So, there could be worse picks, fine. But I just think compared to some of their others, it's mediocre.
Yeah, I felt weird that people were like treating it like it was a modern classic, and I'm like, this is fine.
It's fine. But go Studio Ghibli, I guess. Good
Yeah.
job. So, they ended Disney's reign for a while, and
Sure.
sometimes we love to see that.
I will go first if you don't mind.
Okay.
At my number 5, I have Mickey 17. A very imperfect movie, but I think his performance as Mickey.
Wow, that is not high on my list. I'm so sorry.
I thought he was very charming. And his little weird guy accent, I thought was very fun.
Yeah, I'll give him props for that and Boy and the Heron for doing really good accents. If nothing else. My number 5 is Good Time. This was, I believe, the first in my Safdie Brothers watch before Marty Supreme. I watched this and Uncut Gems. And it was not as good as Uncut Gems or Marty Supreme, but it was the first. It was fun because I watched it in order of Good Time, Uncut Gems, and then Marty Supreme, and I think each film gets better. So it was fun that way. At least I didn't watch this after either of the other films, so slay. And I think he does a great job in this film.
Cool. At my number 4, I have the drama. I do think that his character, even though obviously they're both number 4 on my list, I think Charlie is not as good as Emma as a character, and like written through performance. But I think Robert Pattinson, does really solid work here with him.
My number 4, and I will stand by this. I will argue with anyone who disagrees, and I put Twilight.
The first one?
Yes, the first one. I think a Twilight film deserves to be here. This is the best one. And I don't care if you find it cringy. It's a classic. And it's just a vibe. They understand what they're working with. They are so book accurate when it comes to the cringe that it's like I can't complain. This is the material they were given and they slayed that. A+. If you don't like Bella Swan, well, that's not because of Kristen Stewart, I can tell you that. That's exactly how she was in the books. If anything, she's better in the movies. So I stand by that. And I like that first movie. I rated it 4 stars. So the others, not so much. Not so much. But this one I will stand by.
My number 3, I have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I fear him as Cedric Diggory is kind of the first thing my mind goes to when I think of him.
I also put the Goblet of Fire. That's why I was writing for so long. As my number 3. I agree. I love him as Cedric. I think he's great. That surprises me a little bit that that's what you think of. I think of... Ooh, what do I think of? You'd have to ask me. Either Edward or Batman, actually. I probably...
The thing, when I think of Batman, I think of, him in the mask, and I'm like, I don't see him there.
True, which is a compliment, but, because of how good he is as Batman, but, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, either Edward or... I don't know. It's hard with recency bias of the drama. I see him as Charlie. Maybe Mickey 17 or I don't know. I just see him as Robert Pattinson. Yeah. I don't know.
That weird guy who scares off his fans.
No, it's Anyways, indeed. But I do love Cedric. Hufflepuff representation! Yes. Finally!
Rest in peace.
You deserved better in your trilogy too. We finally got Hufflepuff representation. And then he was sidelined in his own movies. So, it's okay. Should have just done 2 separate things. You have enough material, but that's a conversation for another day. Or never. Because I try not to talk about those films a whole lot, unfortunately.
My number 2, I have Tenet. I think he is phenomenal in Tenet.
I've not seen this film. Otherwise, I can almost guarantee this would be in my top 5.
Oh,
But
no! Oh my gosh! I need
Sorry.
I need to watch this with you and Cole.
Okay.
I can watch your guys' mind
Okay.
melt.
yeah, because isn't there a plot twist?
Yes, a couple.
Okay.
But I think it's so cool.
Slay.
It's like Inception on steroids.
I need to see that too. I tried to watch
You haven't
that.
seen Inception?
No, I've tried to watch it. It was confusing, so I need to start over
Oh my god!
and really try.
You thought that was confusing. Just wait till you watch Tenet.
Womp. I have number 2. Oh my gosh, I hit the microphone. I did it again. Okay, I put the drama. Speaking of drama, in my number 2. Yeah, this is higher up on his filmography, so pretty good for him.
Indeed.
Slay.
And then my number 1, I have the Batman.
Same.
I think he blends into an emo Batman aesthetic so well.
He is so, despite, a lot of things are great about that movie. It is such a good movie. But he's really good. Even if other things weren't as good, he just kind of fits so well. His Batman, I feel like, is still so much the character, but unique enough where I feel like it does stand out well among the others. Gosh, I just love him as a Batman, and I can't wait for part 2 to eventually
It's a pretty inspired casting.
come out. Yeah. Whoever thought, you know what, Edward Cullen, you deserve a raise.
Yeah.
And I hope that's actually partially what went through your mind when you picked him. I really do. If you are a hater of Twilight and you picked him, then you were just wrong and unworthy. So, I stand by that.
Next up, do you want to try and predict the reception of the drama?
Oh, yeah. I actually have no idea. I really don't. On anything. Cinema Score, anything. I don't think I've seen it, or if I have, I don't remember it. I really have no idea. I'll say critics gave this, I might be lowballing it, but 85.
Okay, and what do you think about audiences?
I would say
Audiences are maybe like a 68. I don't know. I think it's going to turn some people off immediately.
What?
And I think high 60,
I was
low
gonna say
70.
85 as well. Okay, I'll say 80. I'll go a little lower. I hope it's not that low. Oh my gosh.
I also don't want it to be, but I can see it turning off people just off the get-go.
Just because they thought they were getting into a different movie. Fair enough.
Okay. So what was your guess for critic?
85.
It is 77. And you said 80 for audience? It is 78. Honestly, that's pretty solid considering the subject matter.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I haven't seen the Cinema Score yet. I'm gonna say, I think a B+.
I kind of want to be optimistic and say A-. But I guess, yeah, if we're going off the audience, anything close to that, I guess I'll say B+ as well.
Boom, 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 boom.
If it's A+, I'm gonna freak out.
It's a B.
Gasp. Oh no. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
I didn't even think about that. I just did it. It was my natural reaction.
No, that's a bit of a bummer.
Wow, that stinks. I guess I'm not crazy surprised, but disappointed.
Sure.
In that. Because Cinema Score they be playing in our faces sometimes. So, I will never forget what they did Hereditary. They did them dirty.
You pulled the wrong freaking neighborhood for that one.
Try again, actually.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, looking at the drama's box office, it domestically opened at the second highest opening for A24 ever, right behind Civil War, which opened at 25 mil. This one opened at 14 mil.
Mm-hmm. Currently, it's at 82 million, or at least Wikipedia said. So maybe double check a better resource.
I'm looking at Box Office Mojo. They're saying worldwide it's at 78. That makes it the ninth I think it's the 9th highest grossing for A24 so far.
Okay.
Which is a really great place for it to be.
Sure.
Its budget, it was boom, 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 boom.
28 million.
28 million. So it is
It's doing well.
doing really well for itself so far.
Yeah.
So now for our box office prediction, where do we think it ends? I have a
I'll
list of
say-
some of the other A24 films if you wanted me to compare any.
No, I think, it's been out a few weeks now. So it did get the bulk of its box office already. It's already had that word of mouth. It's not like it didn't have any and now it's getting any. It's had it since the beginning. So I don't know. I would like to say it does end up hitting the century mark, but I think not past that. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it will pass the century mark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think by a lot.
Yeah.
I'm locking
think-
in 105.
I'll lock in 100, like right at century. Yeah, I think it'll either get really, really close to the century mark or hit right past it. It's like within 5 million either way.
Its biggest comparison is definitely Materialists. That one went on to do 103. I think it's going to do a little better than Materialists.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kind of across the board.
Mm.
So, very interesting. And they were advertised, I would think, aggressively similar.
Yeah. But I mean, Materialists had their 3 strong stars, and then that one was, I believe, critically higher, like receptive or whatever. The reception was higher on that one, because I remember that one being like a really good draft pick.
Yes, it
me,
was.
I think. Like a surprising draft pick. I was a little worried about it for a while. So, yeah. But also, it has a very similar conversation around it where a lot of people thought it was good, but the third act was a bit of a fumble.
Broke boy propaganda.
Yeah. So, it had some controversies as well. Similar conversation, even if, different themes. So, yeah, that's interesting. I bet
Right.
it will be comparable to that.
The last talking point we had here is the upcoming slate for Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, which has a lot of overlap.
It actually does. They had the drama, obviously, which we just talked about. And then they also have the Odyssey coming up. I believe Zendaya is confirmed to be playing Athena, the goddess of war.
Okay.
So, period. I'm so excited for that. I don't know who he is. I feel like I heard maybe Hermes.
That
Which is,
sounds
like,
familiar
the
as well.
messenger god, I believe. I don't know. You had more of a Greek mythology phase than me. I had more just like specifically Percy Jackson, not so much general.
I could see
Greek
him being
mythology.
Hermes. Honestly, I think those are both really solid castings.
I agree. Hers is, I believe, confirmed. His is, I don't know if it's confirmed. And then they're both in Dune Messiah. Obviously, she's coming back, same character, and then he's gonna be Scythe. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but like he's like a shapeshifter kind of, or face shifter.
Interesting.
I'm
I've seen
so excited.
shapeshifters in Dune Prophecy, but not in Dune yet.
So I'm so excited for him. I believe he's gonna be the new antagonist. I
Very
think main
exciting.
antagonist. Although the Dune Messiah is where the main character is like a
problem.
fascist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of the antagonist. Anyways, and then obviously Zendaya's having Euphoria right now, so go her. She's great.
And she's still doing Shining in that show,
Yes.
regardless.
And then she's going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day, which we talked about. Very excited for that. And then Robert Pattinson, besides the Odyssey and Dune Messiah, is going to be in a movie called Here Comes the Flood. It doesn't have a specific release date, but it does still say, from what I can tell, 2026.
Okay.
It's a heist film, and it has him, Denzel Washington, and Daisy Edgar Jones. So good cast, and love that heist
Honestly,
film.
Him and Daisy Edgar Jones sounds like a pretty exciting combo, actually.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
And then I just know Denzel Washington is running that heist.
Oh, and he's gonna kill it. What a great actor. So I'm very excited for that and love a good heist film. Hope it's good. Hope it actually comes out this year. And there's not a lot of information about it.
Sure.
So, anyways.
Yeah, they're on very exciting trajectories. Last question. On Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, what is something that they're not currently involved in that you'd like to see them in?
Oh, well, I mean, okay. Well, my real answer is I want Zendaya to do more voice acting, but she's going to be in Shrek 5 next year. So we're getting that.
And Zendaya is Michi.
I want her to do another musical or just something where she sings because she has such a great voice, but she does not use it super often.
That's fair.
That's why I think it was so exciting when she was a surprise guest at Coachella last year with Labyrinth. That was just or maybe 2 years ago, because I think it was when Euphoria was coming out. Mm-hmm. It was like the fight just happened between Maddie and Cassie. Like, it was peak, like, Euphoria Twitter. Like, it was in a frenzy. Everyone was going crazy. And then she shows up at Coachella. It's like, she is such a good singer. I hope, and she was so great in The Greatest Showman. Like, I love Replay. It's such a good song. So yeah, I want to see her do more with music. She has a talent. So...
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Another musical for her would be really fun.
Mm-hmm. I also wonder what she would be like in a horror film.
Ooh, get her and Jordan Peele together. Oh, I think they can do some magic there.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree.
Ooh, do you think that they could be strong awards contender together? I feel like
they would be a really good duo.
Great combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Or Ryan Coogler also just came out with Sinners, and he has that Marvel connection, so they could connect there potentially too. So if he does another horror film, maybe that's another option. But yeah.
And Robert Pattinson, anything?
I don't know. I feel like I'm really excited for the Batman 2. And then
excited for Batman 2.
And then, you know what? He's such a silly little guy. I want to see him in a comedy.
A proper comedy?
Yeah.
That's a great pick, actually.
I want to see him in a comedy. More voice acting, more things where he can have silly voices. Whatever that looks like. If that's a comedy, if that's somewhere else, wherever, I don't care. But something different, comedy.
Ooh, oh my god. I want him and Dave Franco to be in a comedy. That's
my
pitch.
I love that. I love that. Okay, period.
Oh that sounds amazing. That's my pitch.
Period. Make it happen.
Absolutely. Okay, I think that is going to wrap up our conversation today.
Yeah.
Please, if you've seen the drama, what are your thoughts? What are some of your favorite Zendaya and Robert Pattinson movies? And where are you excited to see them next? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this episode so far, please leave a like. We'd greatly appreciate it. And until next time, I'm your host, Luke.
And I'm your host, Alicia.
And thank you so much for watching Not So Straight Nerds.
Bye.